Good morning all, this is Jeff Segal. I'm a transportation trainer for Franklin Community School Corporation. We're going to be recording this morning a pre-trip walk-around. Everything that we record this morning is things that these potential drivers attempting to get their CDL will be completing one day in front of a inspector trying to attempt to get their Class B CDL to drive a school bus.
I'm going to start my inspection by first checking all lenses, making sure that those are clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that they are all the correct color. I'm going to be checking my traffic monitoring devices, making sure that those are properly and securely mounted down, making sure that those are clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm going to be checking my crossarm, making sure that it is properly and securely mounted, that it is not bent, broken, cracked, or missing in any way. Later on, I will check to make sure that it fully extends as it should. I'm going to be looking up underneath the bus, making sure that there is no puddles, no leaks. I'm going to be listening for air leaks. I'm also going to be making sure that everything is nice and level. I'm now going to open the hood. Starting on this side, I'm going to be checking my coolant, my washer fluid, my oil, and my transmission fluid, making sure that all fluid levels are at the appropriate level. I'm going to be making sure that all of my tanks are properly and securely mounted, that none of them are broken, cracked, damaged, missing, or leaking fluid, that all of my caps are securely fastened and accounted for, that none of those are broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm going to be checking all hose lines and all fastenings, making sure that all nuts and bolts and all of those are all properly and securely fastened and accounted for, that none of that is broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, that those hose lines are not frayed or leaking fluid. Moving on to the other side. Going back to the power steering box, I'm going to make sure that it is properly and securely fastened, that my steering fluid is at the appropriate level. I'm going to be making sure that it is properly and securely mounted, that it's not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing in any way, and that it's not leaking any fluid. I'm going to be checking all links, rods, arms, my cotter keys, making sure that all of those are properly and securely fastened, that they are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, or leaking any fluid. I'm going to be checking my leaf springs, making sure that those are properly and securely mounted, that they have not shifted from their place of origin, that they are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm going to be checking my shock absorbers, making sure that those are properly and securely mounted, that all nuts and bolts are accounted for and properly and securely mounted, that they are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm going to be making sure that there's no leaking fluid around my shock absorbers. I'm then going to be moving on to my brakes. I'm going to be checking those hose lines, making sure that they are not frayed, broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, that all of my nuts, bolts, and my couplings are all accounted for, that those are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm also going to be checking to make sure that there's no fluid leaking around my brakes. I'm then going to move on to my brake pads, making sure that there's no contaminants, no grease, no oil, no debris, anything that would impede them from working properly. I'm then going to move to my tires. I'm going to be checking to make sure that there's no cuts, no holes, no damage, exposing those body plies, using a tire tread depth gauge. I'm going to make sure that my tires are no less than 4/32 of an inch on steering tires, 2/32 of an inch on non-steering tires. I'm going to check the sidewalls. I'm going to be looking for any bulges, any cuts, any holes, any damage that would be exposing those body plies. I'm then going to move to the rims, making sure that there's no welds, no cracks, dents, damage in any way. I'm going to be making sure these ovals are no more elongated than what they should be. So I'm going to be checking the valve stems, making sure that all caps are accounted for and fastened securely, making sure that none of those are broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. Using a tire air pressure gauge, I'm going to be making sure that all of my tires are appropriately inflated, checking all lug nuts and studs, making sure that they are all accounted for, making sure that they are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, that there's no spider webbing of rust, no silver threading that would indicate that any of them are loose. I'm now going to close the hood. This one's a little difficult to do. Let's see if it closes for me. There we go. There we are. Continuing on to this side. I'm going to be checking my battery box. I'm going to make sure that the door opens freely. I'm going to be checking my batteries, making sure that those are securely fastened to the tray, that the tray itself is securely fastened to the frame. I'm going to be checking my batteries, making sure that those are not dented, not broken, cracked, damaged in any way, that they are not corroded. I'm going to be checking all terminals, connectors. I'm going to be checking my lines, making sure that those are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, or corroded in any way. I'm going to now make sure that my door closes securely, which it does. I'm going to be checking my stop arm next, making sure that it is properly and securely mounted, that it is clean, clear, not obscured in any way, it's not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that my lenses are of the correct color. I will be checking later to make sure that it extends fully and lights up appropriately. Moving on to the frame, I'm going to make sure that all of my reflective tape is clean and clear, that it's not peeling up, that it is the correct color. I'm checking my air suspension tank, making sure that it's properly and securely mounted, that it is not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that it's not leaking any fluid or air. I'm also going to be making sure that the frame itself is straight, front to rear, side to side, that it's not warped in any way, that it's not broken, cracked, damaged, no broken welds. Moving on to the back of the bus. I'm once again going to be checking my lenses, making sure that they are clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that they are all the proper color. I'm going to be checking my rear emergency exit door, making sure that it opens freely from the outside, which it does, and it closes securely. I'm going to be making sure that it's also properly labeled. Moving on to this side. I'm going to be checking my fuel tank. I'm going to make sure that the door opens freely. I'm making sure that my tank is properly and securely mounted to the frame. I'm going to be looking up underneath, checking out my tank and my lines, making sure that there are no leaks, that nothing is looking broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. And then I'm going to make sure that the door shuts securely. Moving on to the passenger entry. Also, as I'm moving along the bus, I'm also checking my lenses on the side of the bus, making sure that those are clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that they are all the proper color. I'm now checking my passenger entry. I'm making sure that the door itself has opened fully, that nothing is broken, cracked, damaged, or missing on it. I'm checking my stairs. I'm making sure that nothing is peeling up, creating a trip hazard. I'm checking my passenger entry light, making sure that that is clean, clear, not obscured in any way, it's not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that is the correct color. I'm checking my student handrails, making sure that they are properly and securely mounted, that they are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. Coming up onto the bus, I'd be checking my emergency equipment, so that would be my first aid kits. I'm going to be making sure that those are properly and securely mounted, making sure that they are properly sealed. I would be checking my emergency box as well, making sure that that is properly and securely mounted, making sure that that has 3 reflective triangles and 6 fuses. I'm also going to be checking my fire extinguisher, making sure that it is up to date on inspection, that it's properly filled, and that it is properly and securely mounted. This bus is equipped with 3 cameras. I'm going to make sure that they are properly and securely mounted, that they are clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I'm now going to go ahead and turn the bus on. So as the bus turns on, I'm going to be checking for all of my indicators, making sure that those pop on. I'm looking for my ABS light, making sure that that does indeed pop off to show that there's no issue there. I am checking to make sure that all of my lights work, which they do. Checking to make sure that my defroster works, which it does. I am once again checking my traffic monitoring devices, making sure that those are still clean, clear, not obscured in any way. They are not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that they are properly adjusted. I'm checking my passenger monitoring device, making sure that that is properly and securely mounted, that it is clean, clear, not obscured in any way, not broken, cracked, damaged, or missing, and that it is properly adjusted. I'm checking my windshield. I'm making sure that that is not broken, cracked, damaged, missing in any way, that it is clean, clear, not obscured in any way, and that there's no improper stickers. I'm going to be checking my windshield wipers, making sure that those work appropriately, that nothing's looking broken, cracked, damaged, or missing. I will then check my washer fluid, which it sprays appropriately. This also helps me double check those windshield wipers, making sure that there's no streaks, no webbing of any sort. I am then going to check my fans. Yep. I'm going to check my horn to make sure it works. Now I'm going to check my emergency exits. This bus is equipped with 6 emergency windows, 1 door, 2 hatches. I'm going to open to make sure that the alarm sounds. And it opens freely from the inside, closes securely. I'm going to be making sure that each emergency exit is also properly labeled. I'm going to check my emergency door. The alarm sounded and opened freely. I'm also going to be checking my seats, making sure the seats themselves are properly and securely mounted to the seat frame, that the seat frame is properly and securely mounted to the floor. I'm going to be checking my seats, making sure that there are no popped seams, that there's no holes, no damage to my seats. So from the inside, I'm going to be checking my outside lights, so my turn signals, my headlights, my brights, my warning lights, which the door was already open, so I can see my reds are activated. Okay. The door's open, so it's not going to allow me to, well, actually I can, there we go. And I'm going to check my ambers. So to check the service brake, what I would do is I would disengage the parking brake, put the bus in drive. I would then allow the bus to roll forward with my hands off of the steering wheel, and then I would apply pressure to the service brake to stop the bus to make sure that those brakes do indeed work. This would also help us test if the bus moves side to side with my hands off the wheel. That would indicate that there's a problem with the brakes. Next, I would then test the parking brake. So what I would do is I would engage the parking brake, put the bus in drive. I would then feather the accelerator. We shouldn't move. The bus on, the first part that I would be testing with the air brakes is the air governor cutoff. So I'm going to feather it down to about 90 psi. I'm then going to let it rebuild. When we hit about 120, 140 psi, the air governor is going to cut off, and we're going to know that by the psh sound. Now we are at 90 psi. I'm going to hit my boost pump, allow that to rebuild. Just kind of feathering the accelerator, just kind of help it along. There's the noise that we were looking for. So now what I'm going to do to continue to test my air brakes is I am now going to turn the bus off. I will have to hit that student check button since we did have our warning lights engaged with the door open. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the bus back on, not started though, just to engage my air pressure gauges. So the bus is now on. My air pressure gauges are right where they should be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply pressure to the service brake. I'm going to disengage the parking brake. I will then ask my tester to time me for 1 minute to make sure that we don't lose more than 3 psi within a minute. Minute's up. That's how they do it with the test. I did not lose more than 3 psi in a minute. So making sure my parking brake is still disengaged, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to pump the brakes down to about 55 psi. By the time that we hit about 55 to 60 psi, my air warning device is then going to kick on. There will be an indicator right next to my air pressure gauges, as well as a sounding alarm to let me know that I have low air pressure. So there's my low air pressure warning. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be checking my emergency parking brake. I'm going to continue to feather down my service brake until we hit about 25 to 45 psi. Once I hit that, my parking brake should then re-engage, and that would allow me to know that my emergency parking brake system is indeed working. So that is re-engaged. This concludes my air brake test. This also concludes my pre-trip inspection. So now I'm going to turn the bus back on so that way the air pressure can rebuild.